My first month in March, we did $10,000. I wanted to make as much money as I could originally. So I just kind of offered it all. The idea behind it was, let me just offer all these basic services. If I have a trailer to do lawn mowing, I have a trailer to pick up some junk. A lot of my customers, they're tired of having to call 5 different people. The ability to upsell my customers is huge.
Welcome to Masters of Home Service, the best podcast for home service pros like us. I'm your host, Adam Sylvester, and I want you to crush it in business. My guest today is Zech Osborne, and after wrestling season ended in his senior year in high school, he started his business. He's been crushing it ever since, and he's living the American dream. He's out there making stuff happen. I'm really proud of him, and Zech, welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I've watched the podcast quite a bit before coming here, and this is awesome.
So tell our listeners who you are and what you do, what kind of business you run, that kind of stuff.
My name is Zech Osborne. As you know, I run a landscaping and power washing business. I also have a digital marketing business that I run. I started my business right out of high school, and overall, my whole social media is just to kind of inspire people to start their own business. And being on here, I hope I can do that some more.
Cool. Yeah, I'm sure you will. So take us back, because wrestling season ends in your senior year in high school, and the job, the dead end job that you're working wasn't paying the bills. You move out and you're starting a business. You're like, what was going through your mind back then?
To be completely honest with you, it was more survival for me. So just to clarify a little more, so I turned 18 February 21st. 10 days later, it's February 29th, I'm out of my parents' house. So I was straight into the adult life, having to pay bills. And I had always been an entrepreneur, doing this, that, flipping fidget spinners, flipping cars, and I knew I wanted to start a business. I always knew that. I was seeing a lot of social media posts and it inspired me. I was like, oh, this is definitely something I think I can do. And that's what led me to start it.
So what kind of disciplines did you have to learn in those early days to become more successful? Like, what did you have to learn about yourself?
I think I had a little bit of an advantage because I wrestled. And I'm not sure if you guys know much about wrestling, but it is very, very discipline based. It's very hard work. You have to push yourself to the limits. So I kind of started a little bit ahead of the game in that regard. The discipline and consistency is the biggest thing in any home service business, in my opinion. So I had to learn that very early, that if I want to succeed, I need to do this every single day. Every day I got to wake up and I got to get it done.
There's other listeners to the podcast right now that are also young. What would you say to them?
I would say confidence, like you just said, it is a very, very big deal. When I was first starting it, I didn't have a lot of confidence in it. Not necessarily in the idea, but in myself doing the services, because I was like, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't want to charge these people too much, etc. And it honestly just led to so many hiccups, me not being confident. You have to be confident. That's how you're going to portray to the customer, you know what you're doing. So at some point I had that flip where I was like, okay, if I want to grow, land more jobs, is that I got to act like I am that guy. You have a question about the job, I need to be able to answer it. So the way I built my confidence in running my business is just research. I want to be able to answer every question my customer is going to have. And by doing that, I was able to build confidence in my pricing and, just overall. Initially, the confidence was not there as much, but through doing it and being consistent and being like, wow, I'm actually doing this. I'm hitting these figures, it builds a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and you also have to freaking know the craft. Like, you can't just go out there and just wing it. So how did you learn how to pressure wash?
So I started, pressure washing was actually one of the first things I did. I decided to buy a pressure washer. Like you were saying, I was working at this bounce house company, saved up like $500, give or take, and I ordered it on Amazon, came in, and I just did free work for my family, for my grandma, for friends of friends. And that's kind of how I built, before and after pictures and stuff to build my confidence, to show the customers I know what I'm doing. But it was a lot of research, a lot of videos, YouTube. How does this work? What does PSI mean? What does gallon per minute mean? All these small details. I just researched, did it for free until I knew I could do it. And then I started selling it.
Yeah. Okay. How did you sell it? Did you go door to door? Did you have flyers? Like, what was the first way that you got business?
I did not start with any paid advertisement. I was watching one guy on YouTube. I don't quite remember his name, but he said, post in Facebook groups and Nextdoor. And I made a Nextdoor post. This was the senior year. This was right before wrestling season started. So this is like October. So it was leaf season at this point. I made one post just saying, hey everyone, my name's Zech. I'm in high school, Colgan High School, yada, yada. This is what I'm offering. And that one post booked me up all the way up until wrestling season started,
Hmm.
it was completely free. I had like 48 comments, all these texts, this, that. So I got my foot into the door by just posting on social media and just putting myself out there as much as I can. And I would do it consistently, weekly posts, bi-weekly posts, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And that's how I got my first few leads.
How did you decide what kind of services you want to provide? So you said you first started doing power washing, but you do also do lawn mowing, lawn care, that kind of stuff too, or what else?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
Okay.
when I first started the business, I wasn't quite sure what my vision was. The idea behind it was, let me just offer all these basic services. If I have a trailer to do lawn mowing, I have a trailer to pick up some junk. I wanted to make as much money as I could originally, so I just kind of offered it all. A lot of my customers, they're tired of having to call 5 different people to get pretty simple stuff done.
Hmm.
Lawn mowing, as much as there is complications, it's pretty simple. Mulching, pretty simple. Power washing, it's not necessarily skilled labor. After, a few weeks, you can learn it pretty well. And I found that the ability to upsell my customers is huge because, a $45 lawn mow, that's not a big value whatsoever. But I start upselling them. I get that house wash, I get that mulching, I get the, X, Y, and Z. And out of nowhere, that customer that was 1,500, a year is what I'm making off them. Now they're 10,000 a year. So, instead of sitting here needing 1,000 customers, I can just focus on the customers I have. And I know Augusta Lawn Care is very heavy on that. And I definitely agree with that.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So you're basically trying to be the one-stop shop for
Mhm.
all the low entry level.
Low end, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. And how's that going for you?
It's going very, very well. When people are looking up power washing, they want to see Z's power washing services because that makes them know you specialize in it. And while that may be true to an extent, I found out very early these people are tired of calling 5 people.
Mm.
All this stuff is relatively simple. I'm not trying to downplay landscaping and hardscaping when you really get to those softscaping and complicated projects. But the basic stuff, you can train a team to pretty much do all of it.
The first year you did what, like $100,000 a year, maybe, or
Yeah, we did. I think it was 112 on the dot. I started. It was about 8 months is what it took me to get that, but that was like because I really went legit April of 2023.
after
So
wrestling season, right?
yeah, so
Okay.
I started as soon as wrestling season ended. So March and was my first month really working, but I didn't have an LLC, insurance, all that stuff. April came and I was like, okay, I'm making good money now. My first month in March we did $10,000. So I was like, okay, now there's some money. I need to get my P's and Q's in order because I have OCD a lot and I overthink things. So I'm like, I need to have all this lined out because I don't want to have anything bad happen.
Zach, I'm going to pause our conversation for a minute just to talk about Jobber. You mentioned trust and building confidence. How did Jobber build confidence with you, with your clients?
Jobber enabled me to build confidence between me and my customer because of just how professional it is. It's not just any other CRM system where, oh, here's an invoice, here's an estimate. They get automated follow-ups. They get text message reminders. They know when we're coming, when we're going to be there. And it makes it so I don't have to sit there and do all that. So while it seems like I'm doing a lot and the customer's probably like, wow, Zach's on his he's doing this, is that. In reality, I'm probably sitting down watching TV, chilling. Those automated texts aren't me. Those email reminders, that invoice reminder, estimate, not me. All Jobber.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love when people call in and they're surprised that I just pulled up their number instantly and know who, oh, yeah, Mr. Jones, you're 123 Main Street. How did you know that? Well, I looked up in our system. It's all your history's right here. We were there last week and the week before that. And here's your invoice. Like, oh, wow. It's so impressive to have everything all in one place.
Oh, yeah, it really is. And then there's so many small little key features you don't even think about that can build confidence between you and your customer. For example, I have it on my guys to where when they get to a job site, automatically clocks them in. I have GPS location.
Yeah.
So when my customer calls me, hey, I don't think y'all mowed the lawn. Actually, here, look at that GPS. We did.
Yeah.
We did.
That's right.
And that's it. So there's so many small things through Jobber that I'm still learning more and more and more. And I'm really excited for the future of Jobber.
Yeah, it's really strong. Well, if you are not using Jobber, then you're making a big mistake. Take advantage of all the features that we talked about today. Go to jobber.com/podcast deal, get an exclusive discount, and start using Jobber today. What kind of adjustments did you make between year 1 and year 2?
Year 1 and year 2, I think the biggest adjustment was the advertisement. We grew a lot in our services and customer communication. I mean, we grew across the board, but the advertising is what really made the difference for me. Year 2 is when I started learning Facebook advertisement and Google ads and, what is all this? What's SEO? Why is this important? I'll have a Facebook ad that will only run, it'll cost me $250 and I'll get 46 customers from that. So, even if it's a low ticket service like aeration, for example, my average ticket's around like 280. One job pays off the entire campaign. And then I have 45 other customers I can reach out to just like that.
That's great. Okay, so you've had a lot of success on Facebook ads. Did you learn it yourself or did you pay someone to help you?
I tried so hard, and this is why I tell people to just pay someone to do it because I probably spent like $8,000 until I finally figured out how to do it.
Mm.
It's actually I have another business, it's Biz Boosters, and that's what we do. We do Facebook advertisement, website design, SEO. So Nathan, he's the guy that does all the Facebook advertisement now. But initially, it was very difficult to figure it out because Facebook ads have so much stuff that go into them.
Yeah, it's complex.
It's very complex. And same with SEO. I tried making my own website at first and all this, and it was just not good.
Yeah. So then year 2 goes by, and I'm guessing at this point you hire somebody?
Yeah. Well, so year one, I honestly already had helpers. It was just friends. It wasn't like actual, hired employees. I would have helpers all the time because, right off the bat, March, like I said, we did 10K and we were doing, mulch installs of 8-10 yards, and doing that by yourself is no bueno.
Yeah.
So year 3 is really where we are adding on a lot of employees. Year 2, I was just focusing on growing as much as I can. So I was just tossing every last dollar I made right back into the business. But this year we're kind of focusing on making it profit and try to save up a lot of money so that next year we can go really hard on whichever direction I want to go.
Have you ever had a cash flow problem? Because a lot of listeners do have a cash flow problem.
I've honestly never had a cash flow problem, just to be honest. We started doing only projects, so we didn't have any consistent cash flow like mowing. We were just doing so much work, and the profit is so good on projects in comparison to the mowing that even though I made, let's say, a whole week, we didn't make any money for whatever reason, I didn't get any customers, it wasn't a cash flow problem. Like I had enough money to easily pay all the bills, you know what I mean?
Were people paying you with the check? Like, were you collecting right then, or were people mailing you a check, or how were you collecting money?
So initially it was all cash and checks. I didn't have anything, of course. I didn't have Jobber at the time. So we didn't accept credit cards and nothing like that, but it was always pay on the spot. Well, I didn't want to leave until I got paid.
Good. Yeah, a lot of people don't do that.
I don't get it.
And a lot of people, just send me a check, and they think it's more important to go on to the next job and get started rather than collect the money. But then at the end of the week, they realize they have like $5,000 outstanding and they don't have any cash in the bank. And like, oh my gosh, I should have collected all those invoices when I had the chance, and now it's too late.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense to me. But I kind of do get where they're coming from because, when we're doing aeration season, for example, my guys are doing like 10 to 13 jobs a day, like easily.
Yeah.
So if they got to go knock that, that might only be a minute, but a minute along all day. And then the man hours when it's a 3-man crew, it adds up. So I do somewhat understand that. But that's why like Jobber is so great. I just send an invoice. My guys can send the invoice automatically. We get paid. If they don't pay it, they're going to get a fee attached to it after the first week. So it's like, it puts me into a position where I don't have to chase payments. I just send it. If you don't pay it, you're going to get interest. I'm going to make more money. And that's the end of it.
Yeah. What's the biggest thing that you've learned, Zach, in the last 12 months?
I would say probably the biggest thing I've learned is the disconnect between contractors and the customer. So that's one reason why we do so well. We with Jobber, we have the automated follow-up, text message, etc. But we are very thorough with our communication. My customers are like, oh, my last guy, he did great work and was amazing, but I had no clue when he was coming. I had no clue what the bill was. He would just send me an invoice. And in my head, I'm just like, how would you even let him do work for you? You don't know what he's going to charge. Like people should tell me like, I don't know. They just send me a bill. I'm just like, really?
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. We set expectations. We tell them the bill. On Jobber, we have it dotted out. What's included, what's not included, scope of work, everything. So I think through doing that, it builds a lot of security because, of course, now it's all lined out on a sheet in a contract. But it also just gives the customer a lot more confidence in you. And even if, not saying we don't do good work, but even if you don't do the best work and you're just starting, you're figuring it out, the customer values that communication so much. Like even when I was younger, I probably didn't do the best work at first, of course.
Yeah.
But the communication, I have customers from day one that are still my customers. I do everything for them. So communication is definitely key.
You got 2 businesses going. They're both growing fast. How do you juggle all those things without, burning out? Now you're young, you got a lot of energy, but still, it's a lot of time.
The number one way to avoid burnout, in my opinion, is delegation. Whether that's delegating this task to this person, delegating this task to this software, that is what's going to make it so you're not burned out. If you're wearing 10 hats every single day, at some point you almost get like imposter syndrome and you don't even know, like you kind of lose sight sometimes. And that happened to me. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to stop doing all this on my own. So even though your profits are going to shrink a little bit, you're going to lose a little more on that margin, you're just going to have such a better quality of life.
You've got a team with you now. You've hired some people. They're not just your buddies. They're,
No.
they're actually employees. What do you learn about leading them and all that?
I was sitting there thinking it's going to be easy. I'm going to be able to do this. But now that I'm hiring adults who have been in the field and, they take pride in their work, they really do. So when they see a 19, 20-year-old, it was very difficult for me to build confidence in my guys, in me. And the way I did that was I pay them well. I treat them well. When I'm on the site with them, I work hard with them. And by doing all that, they have a respect for me, even though I'm only 20 years old and they, it's obviously a weird situation for them. They're 4 years old. Why am I working with this 20-year-old? This is ridiculous. You know what I mean? But as long as you treat them well and you pay them well, of course,
respect them.
and you respect them, they're going to respect you.
There are entrepreneurs listening right now who, they're doing their thing and their kids are about to finish high school. Or maybe there's listeners right now who are literally in high school. What would you tell them?
I would just say, think big. When I was in high school, I was telling people what I wanted to do. And even, my parents, they didn't agree with it. They thought I need to go to college. I've always been smart. I have good grades, etc. And I was just like, nah, I just don't want to do that. If you want to start a business, just go after it. Just try it. Because when I was starting my business, I didn't have the most support. My parents didn't agree with it. My family overall didn't, my friends, etc. I felt a little alone. I was like, holy crap, is this a risk? So I told everyone, I'm doing a gap year. It's just 1 year. That's why I told her, I'm going to do a gap year. We'll see if it works. That mentality, as much as it worked out, is bad. I don't want to halfway go into it. I don't want to sit there and go, oh, I'm just going to, I'm going to see if it works out. No, it's going to work out. I'm going to make this work out.
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself, because that's the biggest thing. People don't understand how powerful your mind can be. And when you are constantly reinforcing good habits and reinforcing good thoughts, good things are going to happen. But if you're constantly, oh man, I don't know, I feel like the customer's mad, this is that, you just always got to think positive.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to boil this conversation down to 3 actionable items I think people can do today right now to grow their business. Number 1 is use Facebook, use Nextdoor, join those Facebook groups, and just engage in those free marketing channels and those platforms, because you never know how much business is in there. Number 2, and I really like this one, is like lean on your personal story. Embrace who you are. You're a high school kid and you're trying to make a living and start a business. People like that. Instead of trying to hide it or avoid it, like lean into, hey, this is just who I am. I'm starting a business. Do you want to be a part of it? And number 3 is thorough communication. Clients don't want you hiding the ball. They want the quote to be clear, concise. They want a invoice accurately at the end of the month when you promise. All these things go into clear and effective communication. Zach, I got a final question for you. If you go back, is there anything that you would have done differently since that April after wrestling season?
I think the only thing I would have done differently is I would have went twice as hard. Now that I have all this information, if I could go back in time, I would have started immediately. Like I said, I kind of did lack some confidence when I first started it, and I've built confidence through running the business, of course. Having that self-belief is so unbelievably powerful. I push this all the time on my social media. You cannot doubt yourself. You can't have disbelief. You need to 100% be confident in what you're going to do, and that's going to take you to the highest level of whatever you're doing.
Yeah, double down. I love that.
Double down.
Yeah. Well, Zach, you're an inspiration. You're crushing it in business. You're doing so many good things. You're the backbone of the economy, and it was a pleasure sharing the studio with you today. So great job, and I'm proud of you, and great job.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
For being here.
I'm very happy to be here. This is an awesome experience. Jobber, they're doing it right. It's an awesome experience.
Good. Well, thanks for being here.
Of course.
And thank you for listening. I hope that you were inspired today to go double down and crush it and go make your dreams come true. I'm your host, Adam Sylvester. You can find me at adamsylvester.com. Your team and your clients and your family deserve your very best, so go give it to them.